All right, Matt, we're live again. It's Thursday night. What time is it your time
Happy
again?
Thursday.
8 o'clock? 8 o'clock my time, 9 o'clock your time.
9 o'clock my time. Yes, sir.
All right. Thursday night, episode 33, Infosec to Insanity. We're live on
Welcome
YouTube.
back
For me or for you? Or for
for
us?
everybody that's watching.
So we're about to embark on kind of reinventing this podcast a little bit. We started off just kind of like winging it. And I don't, most of the things I don't know the hell I'm doing. But we met, you and I are like, we should maybe make this a little more consistent. We're starting to move in that direction. The topic is this blog post that I wrote about ADHD. You read that blog post? ADHD Mind in a 24/7 world?
Did read it. I had a hard time staying attached to it, but I did read it, yes.
What do you mean staying attached to it? We
For
got we
whatever
got some
reason, like
pull here.
I just pick certain things to read. It's like weird.
Do you have ADHD, Matt?
Well, so we talked about this after last week's episode, and I went online and I took this quiz. Because I've never been like diagnosed with it. No one's ever said anything. So like, am I just projecting this onto myself? Am I trying to be a cool kid like you talked about, like some people think they are? I tested, I think, like middle of the road. So I'm not sure. Like there's some things that I feel like are me, but once we get into your post a little bit more, like there's some things that are definitely not me. So I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Well, shout out
I'm
to
just
Jake
confused.
Mason, Riker, and Snap Them Ya, who are joining us live tonight.
Awesome. We love live people.
Well, one of the things we're trying to do is get this podcast, kind of more engaged. It's like I said, man, I just wing it. That's part of it. That's actually part of ADHD for me is I wing a lot of shit. And then I'm not sure like what's going to stick. And then you just kind of morph it as you go. I've always been a believer that the only way you can really improve something is to have something to improve.
You just gotta get it started.
Yeah. So you and I met on Sunday to try to talk about how we can make this thing a little more consistent. I think we both have valuable things to share with people. And I think we're both in the game for the right reason, right? We want to help people. Now, there's lots of things that come from your own experience that you can share with other people that hopefully lift them up a little bit, give them some encouragement.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
let's help the people. We love it.
Well, especially this mental health thing. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to finish this mental health series, right? It started with, I mean, if you don't know the backstory, it started with I was supposed to be doing a podcast, the CVC podcast, like 4 weeks ago. The way we do that podcast is, there's 3 hosts, and each week we rotate who gets to pick the topic. And so I jumped on, it's like Friday morning. And I'm like, all right, what are we talking about? And they're like, I don't know, Evan, it's your topic. And I'm like, shit. All right, give me some ideas. And they're like, well, it's Mental Health Awareness Month. And I was like, all right, well, let's talk about that. And then the conversation was really, really good. And then after that conversation, I kept thinking about it. I was like, first of all, why is it just a month? We should always make this thing an aware thing.
Agree.
And that,
And you know what, too?
what?
I don't even know what months are what, because if you look, every
May.
month is like something. Every month is like 10 different things. So we're like over, back to your point, like every day should just be mental health or suicide awareness or women's whatever. Like it shouldn't have to be just a freaking month. I don't know. Crazy.
My mom's down here from, I don't know where the hell she's from, but
I
she's in
gotta come
Mexico.
down there when she's there. She sounds like an awesome lady.
She's all right. She's my mom, I'm not really much of a mother's boy, really. But anyway, we went grocery shopping before, I don't know, like this afternoon. Start coming back and like the roads are blocked off. I'm like, what the hell is the road block? Getting kind of irritated. My American came out a little bit. And then turns out it's Pride Week here. And I was like, didn't we just have a Pride Week? I mean, is it another Pride? How many Pride Weeks are there? I don't know.
I know it's,
There's a lot of
yeah.
Pride Weeks. And I would be more I would jump in on that if it was like Humble Week. I need to be humbled more, I think. I don't need the pride thing so much. Anyway, So that led to me thinking, and then I wrote like 11 blog posts. This is what happens with ADHD people. Sometimes we get overly focused on something.
So
One of those blog
your
posts. So
blog
this is
post.
blog post number 3 of the series of 11. So you can go to evanfrancen.com and find those posts. Anyway, what's up? What are you saying?
Yes. So this blog post, ADHD Mind in a 24/7 World.
Yeah.
The topic is pretty catching. But then, you jump in here and your first call out to me like really stands out. I didn't think anyone else thinks about things kind of in the same manner. And in your blog you say living with ADHD is like having 47 browser tabs open all at the same time. And it's funny because when I try to talk to people just like about networking or stock or like whatever, like that's what I do in my head is like I can visualize like these things almost like tabs and like move them around. And it's like you got all these things open that you're trying to process, but I've never heard it called browser tabs and I kind of like it.
Well, that's why I asked you if you had it, because it's not just like having 47 browser tabs open, but some of them are frozen. One of them's playing music somewhere. You ever have that where you're like, what the hell browser tab is playing music right now? Some video auto played, on some website you were visiting. And then that one of these 47 browser tabs is something you were supposed to be working on, and you were probably working on it like just a few minutes ago, but you forgot which one it was. And I'll
So
give
you
you
just gotta
examples
close
like
them all and start over.
no, I mean, you
That's what I
could, but it's just, 47 browser tabs appear again. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not something you actively do. It just happens. Like when I read this blog post to my wife, we've been married for 22 years, and it was crazy because she read it and she's like, so that explains a whole hell of a lot. Like, that's what it's like. I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, I get it. I'm like, that's cool, because 22 years, I guess, before I shared it with you. It's not her fault. You know what I mean? Probably mostly my fault. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about that, but also we're gonna reformat this podcast a little bit. Not We're gonna end up like kind of relaunching it, but I think we'll start tonight with getting into this new format, breaking things down into segments, making it a little bit more engaging for people. So the first segment, and we'll try it out. We'll see how it goes. And, like I said, you and I are going to be meeting every Sunday to nail this thing down a little bit. But the first segment is really just warm up banter. It's about letting people roll in. You and I just talking about, whatever shit's on our mind, I
Two guys at
suppose.
the beach talking shop.
Two guys at the beach talking shop. I like that. And then we'll roll into this segment called What the Fuck Happened. I swear, we say what WTF happened this week. So we'll talk about some of the things that maybe you knew, you didn't know about what happened this week.
There was something I had queued up and I forgot it. That's so terrible.
Maybe you do have ADHD, man. That sounds something like that I would do.
I don't know.
Then we'll get to the main topic. The main topic is going to be this. It's going to be talking about this living with ADHD in the 24/7 world. We'll talk about our own experiences with that. We'll talk about you taking you've not been diagnosed. I have, been diagnosed. And, I've had medication for years. I think when I was a child, my ADHD was a lot worse, a lot less manageable than it is today. So the medication I used to have to take really was just to function. I think a lot of times, especially in school, I got, what do you call that? Suspended from school lots of times. Yeah. Well, but partially it was just because I was an idiot. Partially it was because, the world really isn't made for ADHD people. And we'll get into all that stuff. And then that'll be the main topic. And then we'll roll into, what did I have this thing called, man? It's going to be fun. It's, tool time or full time.
Nice.
So tool time or full time is where we're going to tear apart or praise a tool, product, or vendor.
Man, that sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
Right. And I prepared some shit for tonight because one of the things in the CISP mentor program somebody had brought up was CrowdStrike. You and I have talked about CrowdStrike numerous times before. And so what we're going to do is we're going to roast, CrowdStrike a little bit. I mean, there's certainly positive things about it. And we're going to point that out at the end of the day, but we're going to call it tool time or full time. So we're going to cut through all the bullshit on CrowdStrike as we see it. And then we'll do some final rants and wrap this thing up. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for segments. What do you think?
Like it.
All right.
Right before we went live here, I was working on a shared drive. I created some documents I shared with you that we can circle back on and yeah,
All right.
do the thing.
Do the thing. All right, let's talk about some things that happened this week. One of the things you might have heard, the Department of Justice announced charging 16 Russian nationals linked with this thing called DanaBot. Have you ever heard of DanaBot?
I have. I actually had run-ins with them back when I was in finance.
So you got hit by something from DanaBot, or did you just identify?
Just attempts, not any impact.
Well, so according to the Department of Justice, they've hit 300,000 systems, which, that seems like a really big number, but 300,000 systems out of what? A few
It's billion,
not trillion, billion. It's got to be billion. I would guess.
If you're including IoT devices, fucking dude, there's so many now because we got to connect everything.
When it started off, DanaBot started off as sort of a nuisance. Really, it wasn't super sophisticated, but over time it did grow in sophistication, and then it kind of morphed into a banking Trojan. And then it started to gain attention because they were starting to make money, and then it became this multifaceted tool. DanaBot's associated with credit card theft, cryptocurrency fraud, ransomware, and even espionage. They're out of Russia. So if you know how Russian hacker groups typically work, they're mostly, even though they say they're not state sponsored, they're state sponsored, basically. The way it works
for $1,000 a month.
Yeah. The way it works in Russia is it's pretty much legal to hack anything except for Russian stuff. It's either look the other way, and then if you become powerful enough, then the Russian government typically steps in and wants to, I guess, ride the wave with you. So you'll have to pay, your share to the nation state. So DanaBot started as kind of just like a nuisance, morphed into this more sophisticated thing, started to hit some of the wrong people in finance industry. I mean, whenever you're going to hit money, like money companies,
People will pay
banks.
attention.
Yeah, and that's what got them, I think, on the radar for Department of Justice. And then it did sort of start to become kind of a nation state thing, where there was
Because if they have
some
all those
espionage
systems,
stuff.
that's a lot of good real estate for nation state,
Yeah. Yeah. So they announced that this week, charging 16 Russian nationals.
Operation Endgame.
Endgame. And charging them and prosecuting them, totally different things. They normally
doesn't mean nothing.
No, normally what happens is these Russians will, they made a lot of money. So they'll travel somewhere, to spend their money, enjoy vacations, whatever, and they get picked up somewhere at an airport or some event somewhere, So there's a chance that they'll be caught, but probably not.
Like that kid from Scattered Spider. He was traveling and he went through some country and got busted. Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. Well, it's like most crooks, right? I mean, you're cool if you're not careless. A lot of the work that we do, when we do things, and I don't know how relevant this is to, your own experience or anything, but when we do things that are sketchy, I guess, it's not necessarily sketchy, but just not normal things. We use personas. So it's not the work that I've done in underground shit has never been as me. It's never been Evan Francen, right? It's a persona. And if you know how personas work, it takes 6 to 9 months or more before you ever use the persona. I mean, that's how much effort goes into it. You have to be really focused on what the objective is for the persona. You have to be really, You have to think things through. You have to play your pretext really well. You have to stay on, you have to stay on target, all that shit. And, if you've never done it before, the first few times you're going to make mistakes. Hopefully you make them in the right places where it doesn't become a big issue. But if anything gets even the slightest bit off with your persona, you kill it. And you always err on the side of caution. But that takes a lot of discipline. If I'm going to spend 9 months, a year, maybe with
You're
this
attacked.
persona and make some progress. And then let's say that there was some image that or some attachment that I had sent or posted to a forum, and it had some EXIF data on it, or, something. It sucks to have to kill it. It's like, fuck, I got to start all over again.
You're
But
an
that's the
inmate.
kind of discipline it takes. And it takes the same kind of discipline on the attack, on the criminal side. You have to play really tight. And then, yeah, you make a mistake and you end up getting caught. So these guys, we know who they are. We've probably known who they are for a long time. We just charged them. This
Officially.
is, yeah, and this is criminal. So then, it's proof beyond a reasonable doubt, which is going to be, yeah, just charging them is not, it's not as big a deal as it seems. Anyway, there's that. Russian hackers targeting Western aid to Ukraine. That was kind of an interesting story that AP News caught on it, and that's why I picked it out. AP News doesn't pick up on many cybersecurity stories unless they're pretty big deal, And it shouldn't surprise you that Russian hackers are going after Ukraine, but here they're going after Western aid to Ukraine, which is a little bit different.
Because
It's expanded
we're
the scope.
giving them all the resources they need. So stop the resources coming in, you stop progress.
Well, in the I don't think the U.S. is giving them any more resources. I think it's coming out of Europe mostly, isn't it? Canada, maybe.
Yeah. I say we, I mean Western, I guess. Yeah.
Apple AirPlay vulnerabilities, some significant security vulnerabilities in Apple's AirPlay, potentially allow hackers to hijack devices connected to the same Wi-Fi network. It's
It's
dubbed
nothing new.
airborne. A little bit.
That's not new. You had that with the flipper thing. AirPlay vulnerabilities already.
Different vulnerability. But yeah, different. Same thing.
Did you hear
I
about
just gotta
this?
click the link and scroll the little thing. It's the same
Did you
shit.
hear about OpenAI? I saw this on LinkedIn
What about
today.
it?
OpenAI introduced IO. What I can gather is it seems like OpenAI is supposed to be a nonprofit company, but they just got a bunch of investment money and just bought another company called IO, which Sam used to work for but left. I mean, it just sounds all kinds of corporate corruption to me. I haven't dug a whole lot into it,
Yeah.
but it's weird because they put up this picture of the two of them together and they're saying it's an
Tofu.
extraordinary moment. Computers are now seeing, thinking, and understanding. That's the second line of their post. I don't know. I'm not sure if they're seeing. I mean, we've talked about the whole AI thing last week.
Wall Street Journal mentioned something. Is today the 21st? No, that was yesterday.
22nd.
So Wall Street Journal, this is the title of the article. What Sam Altman told OpenAI about the secret device he's making with Jony Ive. Jony Ive used to work at Apple. It's a secret device. And it's pretty interesting because it says it's laying out the plans to ship 100 million AI quote unquote companions. I don't want a fucking companion. Humans are for that, not machines, not code. That's a sketchy thing.
Yeah,
He
so
suggested that the $0.5 billion acquisition, this same acquisition you're talking about, has the potential to add $1 trillion in value to OpenAI.
I thought they were a nonprofit company. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, the point is, we continue to adopt new technology much faster than our ability to use it responsibly. We have people in our own circle of friends who are struggling with AI, and Google it if you want. Google AI induced psychosis.
Yep.
Google that. Listeners, Google AI induced psychosis and tell me what you find. We
Love
don't
to hear what
need,
you guys think about it.
oh God, Scary shit, man. All right, two more things I got for what the fuck is happening. Microsoft patch Tuesday. It's May 2025. Patch Tuesday update 78 security flaws. Many of those include actively exploited 0 days. Welcome to Microsoft. This is, I mean,
So
every month.
I want to ask you this because this always bugs me. I think it's just the narrative and the order in which we're telling the story. Because to me, a 0 day does not have a patch. So if Microsoft just patched it, it's no longer a 0 day. So why are we talking a 0 day vulnerability?
So, in my opinion, 0 days, it's actively being exploited. So, there's an exploit for it,
And there's a threat, yeah.
and there's no patch or workaround. So, not just patch or workaround.
So if Microsoft is patching it, then it's not a 0 day. So they're just using it for clickbait. Got it.
I mean, it is a 0 day until the patch is released, and there's no workaround for it.
But they've
And some,
already released it, so it's no longer a 0 day.
no longer 0 day. Sure.
So maybe that's what it should say. It should say no longer a 0 day because we unfucked ourselves.
No, they didn't unfuck themselves. They're still fucked.
That'll
Yeah,
never happen.
These are just
That's
78 security flaws they know about. Well, just do the math, right? Even in the best development shops on the planet, you can expect anywhere between 6 to 10 errors per KLOC, right? What KLOC is 1,000 lines of code.
Yeah, it's just
How many?
enormous
Microsoft,
amounts of bugs.
right? And some of those are just bugs, right? They're just functional bugs, and some of those are security flaws. Yeah,
Speaking of
78
Microsoft,
in the big ocean of vulnerabilities, for Microsoft. It's like you ain't even scratching the surface. What were you saying? Speaking
speaking
of
of
Microsoft,
Microsoft, did you hear the good news? FCC approved the Blizzard acquisition.
I give a shit.
The court ruled for all you gamers out there. Blizzard Activision now approved to be owned by the corporate corruption machine known as Microsoft.
You want me to share an opinion about gaming?
It's addictive. Yep.
No, if I called it like the people, because I used to be one, really bad. When you are gaming at the expense of your responsibilities, as you're supposed to have, kind of as a man. My opinion is you're not a man. You're just a boy who can shave.
Makes
Big
sense.
difference. All right. Last thing I got. Speaking of AI, Anthropic, they released Claude Opus 4. ChatGPT ain't the only AI on the block. There's lots of AIs on the block. Claude is definitely one of them. It's the most advanced AI model, according to them, but it's got some safety measures. There's an interesting story about its ability potentially to assist in bioweapons development.
I know someone that got OpenAI to do that.
Yeah. So anyway,
Interesting.
that's that stuff. What did I say was going to be the next segment? Do you remember?
I forgot already.
Dude,
We were gonna
seriously.
roast the vendor or something.
No, it's not yet, is it?
I don't know. I'm just too
Shit.
excited
You were
for it.
supposed to be paying attention. You're like my right-hand man.
Aren't we gonna talk about the blog? I have the blog up.
Oh, yeah, that's what we're talking about. The main topic. Living with ADHD in a 24/7 world. All right.
All right, shifting gears here. We're gonna jump in and talk about Evan's blog post.
ADHD 24/7 world. So you took your test. What did your test tell you? And your test wasn't like some.
No, it was
And
like
just to point out, though, two things, man, I want to say really quick for listeners. Number one, neither Matt nor I are healthcare professionals. We're not mental health experts. What we're going to share is really our own opinions, our own experiences, but don't take what we're saying as any kind of therapy, any kind of replacement for getting help if you need help. That's number one. And number two, ADHD, if you really want to know if you have ADHD, if you've been curious on whether you have it, it's not, number one, it's not something to brag about. It sucks, honestly. I mean, some days it really sucks. So if you really want to know if you have it, you need to see a professional and get yourself diagnosed. It's not as simple as taking a quiz online. That might give you some indications for sure, but because you just took the quiz online, which is, I think, it's kind of cool. You learn some things, But if you really wanted to know the answer and whether you have ADHD, go talk to a professional. You
Yes,
dig?
I agree. You should go seek someone that is authorized to give you that evaluation.
Trained. Yeah, professionally trained. It's funny,
So I took an online quiz. It was
my
like
mom
15.
today, check this out. My mom today said, she's been following my blog and she's like, oh my God, she dotes on it, because I'm her son and shit, I guess. But then she says, but she's also not a bullshitter. I mean, she's a pretty straight shooter. I think I got most of mine from her. But anyway, she says, you should, you should be a therapist. I was like, but then I got to thinking, I was like, maybe I could go back to school. Maybe I should go back to school. 54 isn't too old to go back and
No,
be a therapist. If you say therapist wrong, like you put the emphasis on the wrong parts, it's the rapist. Did you
the
know that?
rapist. No, I think you'd be a good therapist. I mean, the question is, it's different doing it until you turn into a job, right? Always.
Yeah, it's true. But at least, when I would, because some of the times, when I'm talking about mental health stuff and I'm, giving my own advice, you have to be careful because I'm not an expert. I have no training in this stuff. And so then I start to think, well, I'm not, um, I'm not qualified. But the thing is, you are qualified to share your opinion as long as you state that it's your opinion. And you also are qualified to share your own experiences.
Well, that's where all these other things kind of fill the gap, right? Executive coaching, life coaching, fucking
What's a
spiritual
life coach?
coaches,
What do they do?
whatever. What's that? Executive coach?
No, I get them. What does a life coach do?
They help you just talk about aligning with kind of, well, in my experience, different pillars, right? Mental health, spiritual health,
Colors?
physical health, just being an accountability person for you, really.
So it's like a form
Any
of
advice?
therapist, sort of.
Yeah.
That's
And to
cool.
your point, like, you just have to be able to talk with your experience. Now, therapists don't like life coaches. Life coaches don't like therapists. Which one is
Really?
right? The
Couldn't you be both? Couldn't
American
you be a therapist? Couldn't you be the rapist and a life coach?
would probably contradict some sort of ethics you had to sign or something.
I'll have to ask Claude about this.
Because one, you need the medical degree. But then again, like in Western medicine, it's all about just keeping you on whatever
Couch.
plane you're on. Nothing is designed to fix you.
Yeah. That's the sad thing about a lot of this shit is we treat the symptoms, but we do the same thing in information security. We treat the symptoms, but we don't get to the
The root
root cause of
cause,
the
put
damn
that over
problem.
there. It's ugly.
And so you keep buying more shit, buying more shit, buying more shit when the root cause of all your shit is a fundamental thing that you just continue to miss. It's
Yeah.
crazy. All right. So tell me about your
So,
15 question thing that you took.
okay. I don't remember a whole lot already because that was a week ago. It gave you like two different ratings. One was like a 0 to 12 and then like 0 to 15 or something. And it said you're likely to have ADHD if you're like 0 to 6 or something like that. On one, I was a 7. The other one, I was a 5. So it was kind of like not extreme, kind of like borderline, I guess I would say. And that's
All right.
kind of after reading how you describe some things in your blog post, the ADHD Mind in the 24/7 world, I kind of feel like I would be borderline because some things resonate, some don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. And that's another reason why I think, having a professional to work through these things, because there isn't like one size fits all, right? It's not like you do these three things, you got ADHD. It's broader than that and it's deeper than that. And it's also truly, it is a very well understood disorder. It is a disorder in terms of, and when you think disorder, think of like normal world, you're different, which I mean, I think we're all different than the normal world anyway. Because I don't even know what the hell normal means. You know, when I was younger, that's when it sort of came out because I would, it was easy to tell that I had some kind of disability, some kind of disorder because I wasn't like the other kids. I would break things almost on purpose, and then you'd talk to, I didn't know why I was breaking things. I grew up in a Marine Corps family. My dad was, lifetime Marine. My mother, 6 years in the Marines, and I grew up on base. I was an only child. So when you broke shit, it hurt. Not just the shit that you broke, but it hurt me. And yet I would still do it. And they were like, what in the hell is wrong with this kid? Of the many things that were going on in my mind, I think at the time, one of those was I was yearning for attention. And in my mind, negative attention was attention, which was better than no attention. So it was like this weird thing. And, we started kind of working through that stuff, but yet there were still these behavioral issues, that would come up before it was finally like, let's try medicating. That's even this would have been back in the mid 70s, late 70s, early 80s. So even back then it was like, well, let's try some meds and see what happens. And so it was Ritalin, and it helped. It really did. And then it was just dialing in the dosage back then. And what Ritalin does, like for some people, you might have read in the news about college kids, high school kids taking Ritalin before tests, before studying for cramming for exams, because it's like an amphetamine, right? It's in the same family of like crystal meth and shit, right? So it keeps you awake. It gets you fired up. It increases your heart rate, stuff like that. For somebody with ADHD, it doesn't do that. So I guess maybe that I wouldn't suggest this, but maybe that's one way you could tell if you have ADHD is take some Ritalin, and if you get all jacked up and your heart, increases, and maybe you don't have ADHD. If you just kind of level out, then that's what it does for somebody with ADHD. You can focus more. It becomes more manageable. They still have 47 browser windows open, but things are slower to where I can work through which browser window is making that noise, close the ones that are frozen. You can work through it. So like Ritalin does that to an ADHD mind, whereas to a non-ADHD mind, I think it does the opposite.
It's like speed.
Yeah. Yep. So when I take Ritalin, I don't get any of that effect whatsoever.
I experimented with Adderall in college.
That
I
did you.
didn't put me to sleep.
That's an indication of maybe it could be, because
Never
Adderall is another
tried
one of those things.
Ritalin. No one's ever said anything about medication when I was growing up. I mean, I did get in trouble with local 5-0s frequently, but nothing like well, probably serious, I guess. Yeah, not like super trouble though.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
When I was a kid, like Ritalin became this thing that it became one of those things where you could tell when I wasn't on it. It was that, I mean, it made the world functional for me, basically. And now, as I've gotten older, I may go a week or two without having to take it, because I don't like to take any drugs unless I have to, right? I don't even like Tylenol. I feel like there's a reason why my body's feeling pain, and I want to feel that pain because it tells me something's wrong. You know what I mean? I don't like to numb it. I don't like to get rid of it artificially. Ritalin is one of those things I take. I think I took it like maybe 2-3 days ago. But you can see it. I mean, in your brain, you can feel like shit. I'm just can't get my thoughts straight. I can't, and I'm pissed off at things because it does lead to, if it's not like intended to, it does exhausting. You can tell that I'm kind of suffering sometimes. My wife can now, I think, when I'm always tired. I had a full night's sleep. Now I haven't missed any sleep. I'm like, there's no physical reason why I should be exhausted right now, but I'm exhausted. That's because of the brain.
There's just so many tabs you're cycling through.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I go to
And
bed every night, never physically exhausted, always
mentally,
mentally exhausted. And I sleep
do you
like a
wake
baby.
up
As soon as I
tired?
hit, sometimes.
I feel like I
Yeah.
always wake up tired and really, I mean, this is an interesting conversation. I have therapy in like 2 weeks. I'll have to ask for something because this whole time it's really just been like, oh, you're not active enough or it's depression. Like I sleep 8 hours. Like I'm getting plenty of sleep. My watch says my sleep patterns are good. what else could it be? Yeah, kind of interesting.
And maybe it makes sense for you to go see a professional and just get a real professional diagnosis. That way you can at least, if it comes, if the conclusion is you don't have ADHD, well, then you can just, at least you can cross it off your list and you can go work on something else. Because I think one of the things in dealing with a lot of mental health things in my own life, including addiction and other things, has been honesty, just brutal fucking honesty. And when you look at yourself, you look in the mirror and you're brutally honest and you're like, what is going on? What's wrong? And you start to not point fingers at other people. You start to really look at yourself and try to explore what makes me tick. Why do I get really jacked up about some things and have zero interest in other things? Why do, you know, I can lock myself in my office up here for days. Part of it is because I grew up an only child and I've always been comfortable being alone. Part of it is the ADHD. I can stay here for days on end and sometimes I need to be reminded, like, you should get out. I'm like, yeah, shit, I suppose I should. Because the world really wasn't built for an ADHD mind. It's just the world is, you know, for example, I struggle with time management. I show up to meetings late. I forget about meetings often. I've always been that way. And some people, without understanding where it comes from, can get really frustrated with that. They can get angry with that. They can think that I'm being disrespectful. I wish I could change it. I really do. The thing is, you can't. And I don't need to be. And another thing with ADHD is I know what's wrong. I just can't do it. Like, people will tell you, you need to prioritize. I know that. And they're like, well, why don't you prioritize? Wish I could. Like, why can't you? ADHD.
Try to
Well,
understand me, fool.
it's just an excuse. I'm like, I wish it was. I mean, I've taken time management classes, to try to, manage it. I've got, if you look at my desk right here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notepads with notes in them to try to,
I
like,
got that
put
too.
structure to, okay, do this. Here you go. And then I don't do it. Or, it's, put it in your calendar. Okay.
Which one?
Well, and just because it's in my calendar doesn't mean it just doesn't mean I'm going to do it. It's a really weird, and it's difficult to explain it to other people, especially people that don't have it. People that do have ADHD, they're like, yeah, yep. They nod their heads because they get it, because this is the world it is.
So where and this is where I struggle, right? I have no problem with emails, showing up to meetings. I have a problem making the to-do list, following it, no, calendars, no. Like a lot of this stuff, I'm like fucking laser on point military rigor. So that's why I like it's, I'm not sure.
Right. I think that's why my suggestion is, as a friend, and is explore it. Go find out, and use discernment, because even professionals, I think, can mess it up. I mean, we're all human. So as you're going through whatever process of self-discovery to figure out why you do what you do and don't do what you don't do, just try to figure it out. It's one of those never-ending things. Another thing with ADHD, I used to say that ADHD is a superpower, because I think maybe in some cases it is, because there's certain, like an ADHD mind, I thrive in high pressure situations, comfortable for me, like incident response. It's really comfortable to be in an instant response. It's comfortable. I don't seek it out. It's comfortable, like when we had the hurricane come through here. It was easy for me to deal with that. It was really comfortable. When shit's going all over the place, it's just the way it is. I can't really explain why that is. It's just the chaos fits with the chaos that's going on in the head. It's just normal.
So
So then that way it is a superpower. Dealing in those high stress situations where it's not is the basic mundane day-to-day shit. I forget all the time to do basic things all the time. Like, I remember to brush my teeth when my teeth feel like shit. Like, brush your teeth every morning. Okay. I'll do it for like 3, 4 days, and then I'll just go off and forget about it.
I say fuck it.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife will send me on a task. Like, I'm going to go downstairs and clean out the garage, and I'll be gone for like 3 hours. And then I'll come back upstairs. And my wife will be, so how'd it go? I'm like, great. She goes, so can we park the side by side in there now? No, I didn't do that. What'd you do? I took a nap. Went downstairs in the bedroom 7, laid down, took a nap because I was tired. I ended up welding something together, cleaned up a little bit in the backyard, did like 5 other things, but I didn't do the thing I set out to do. That's normal. We miss deadlines that we care about. That's in the blog post. I think people, and I feel bad. I do feel bad sometimes. This is where I think the frustration comes from. The shame in somebody with ADHD is, people think that I don't care. Like, you forgot because you don't care. People don't, because they'll say, well, people don't forget the things that they care about. And it's like, I don't forget those things. I forget the basic things. And I miss deadlines, not because I don't care about the deadline, not because it's not important, but the thing is also with ADHD, and this is what leads to the burnout part, is I'll forget about and miss the basic deadline until the deadline is like tomorrow morning. And then I'll stay up all night and nail that shit out by tomorrow morning. So I usually will make the deadline, but instead of doing it ahead of time and lining it up so I don't have to deal with it at the last minute, I deal with it at the last minute and then
It's because you
punch it
had
out.
to go through all these tabs just to get there, and by the time you get to the proper tab, your brain is just exhausted.
Yeah, sometimes I think I forgot the deadline, or like I said, there's sometimes I'm exhausted. I don't feel like doing it. I know it needs to be done, and then push comes to shove. And at the end of the day, plus you do get kind of a dopamine hit when you deal with the high pressure situation, right? I told you, we thrive in high pressure situations. So sometimes inadvertently, I'll create my own high pressure situation. I didn't do it on purpose. It's just here. And that's like, why the fuck do I do this all the time? That's why I do it all the time. It's weird, man. ADHD,
So
it's
what do you
a,
do that
it's a
helps you?
bitch. Sometimes I do need to medicate. Honestly, Ritalin has been helpful over the years. It just settles things. It neutralizes things. Sometimes it's just communicating with the people around me that, the people that rely on me the most, they know me. I'm transparent. This is how I am. The things that I bring to the table that other people can't do is those 47 browser windows open. A lot of people that would freak the shit out of them. They'd be like, they'd freak out, where I feel comfortable with that. And I can,
Do you have like
if I'm left,
10,000 unread emails too?
oh yeah,
Yeah, that
I don't really
freaks
even
me
use
out, man. It
email anymore.
gives me the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it.
Yeah. If you leave me alone, if you leave an ADHD person alone, but don't schedule any meetings with me, leave me alone for, maybe weeks, I'll get a whole bunch of shit done that nobody else can get done. Creativity comes back because instead of trying to operate in the world, I'm operating in my own world where I feel comfortable, where it makes sense. And then I can, creativity starts to come out. I can do things that I think other people can't do. ADHD people can do things that other people can't do.
It's like a superpower.
If you can manage that, right? If you can put it into that perspective, but the world demands something different. The world doesn't, the world doesn't let me, hey, Evan, we'll see you in 3 weeks.
So when you were
Nobody
growing
will let
up
me do
as a
that.
kid, you said you were comfortable being alone. Did you ever think to yourself, because you have all this stuff going on, right? Did you ever think that like you had a superpower? 'Cause
I
I
knew
used
there's
to tell
something, I knew there's something unique about me. I knew there's something special, superpower or not. Because back when I was a kid, even though I was comfortable being alone, I really was desperate for friends. And especially because we'd move from base to base. So as soon as you started kind of making friends in your little neighborhood, you'd have to move. And then you'd be a new group of friends. And so one of the things I figured out was the harder I try to make friends, the harder it is to make friends. So, but as a kid, man, I would cry all the time. I'm like, I just want some friends. I felt really lonely. And then And I was like, fuck it. I don't want to make any friends. I don't care. I'm just going to do my thing. And then the friends come. It's like, the fuck? I don't. And like Kevin, my work wife gives me shit about this all the time because he's like a guy who wants more friends, I think. He's like, how do you make friends? Because you never try to make friends. I'm like, I think that's why, man. I don't know. I think people, I don't know. I don't, I don't really like people, to be honest. I love people. It's a difference between loving somebody and liking
Like and
somebody.
love. That's a great conversation we should dissect sometime.
Yeah. Yeah, for
That would
sure.
help a lot of people in the world today, I think.
Yeah. So in the blog post, this was I thought was funny, for the ADHD mind, it's like being inside a blender. We're told to prioritize everything. Fuck no. I can't. I wish. I can't. And that's the thing, because this is what makes it even worse, too, by the way. And I don't blame anybody for it. It's just the way that my mind works. They give you advice. Like my wife loves to give me advice. Like, well, you just need to prioritize better. I'm like, I know. Well, then why don't you do it? Because I can't, I mean, it's not like I don't know. It has nothing to do with intelligence. It has nothing to do with me being smarter than somebody else. It has nothing to do with me being stupid. I just can't. My brain just doesn't work that way. I can't. And you cannot. In my opinion, maybe there's some medical miracle somewhere. In my opinion, you cannot change it.
Dude,
So once I started to understand that, I started to stop trying to change it, and I just started to accept myself as I am, and try to help other people understand me, so that if you want to interact with me, you understand why I am the way I am. And you will not be able to change it. Trust me, I've tried.
do you feel like you initially started thinking that those were things you just didn't want to do? And then you got to a point of self-awareness where you're like, it's not that I don't want to do them, I just can't. Is that like a progression you went through, or is it a different
Yeah,
experience?
I think so. I think that's part of it. The truth is, I don't think anybody wants to do something that they can't do. So I think those two things for me play off of each other. Like, I know I can't do it. Well, you just don't want to. That's true. I don't want to. Well, why don't you want to? Because I fucking can't. I mean, one of the things that was actually, had nothing to do with ADHD at all. But one of the most helpful things I remember doing was the strengths finders. Have you ever done that?
I think so.
No. If you Google strengths finders, the whole point around this is you focus on your strengths and you minimize your weaknesses. And so when I worked through that, and it gives you, your top strengths and everything. And so I was like, this makes sense. So focus on this shit because I'm good at this. All this stuff that I'm not good at, don't even work on it. Minimize it, meaning find somebody else who's good at it, or make it less impactful in your life. You know what I mean? So that's why, you know, I have Kevin. Everybody who I tell people who start in their own business, everybody needs a Kevin. Kevin's like the opposite of me. Kevin's got his shit together. Kevin dresses well. Kevin plays golf. Kevin is good at managing money. Kevin's good at all the things that I'm not good at. But, strengths finders, understanding this, like, I have ADHD. There's no cure for it. There's no like magic thing you can do. It's like, okay, what from ADHD are strengths that I can focus on? And then all that other stuff, just be honest and minimize those weaknesses. Have somebody else do those things. That was a big, big part of things. We're also told to stay focused for hours. I can't sit through a movie.
I
I can't
can
sit through.
validate that. Yeah. Well, you did when we went to see Bad Boys in the theater. You
It's because I
stayed.
had a sweet ass chair to play with. I could go back and
And
forth with
food
that thing.
delivered to us.
The
That
food
was
delivered.
legit.
Yeah. I mean, there were all kinds of things to keep my mind occupied while that movie was on. I don't remember what movie it was. What was it?
Bad Boys 4 or whatever.
4?
4, 3? I think it's 4. Bad Boys 4.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Maybe
don't remember the
5? I
movie.
don't know. Whatever the last one came out.
Yeah. And then there's, like my wife watches Netflix series and stuff. I've never been able to make through a Netflix series. It's just, I can't stay focused for hours like that. I
See,
can traditionally
I
pick
can
things up and drop
binge.
them and pick them up and drop them. I can do that.
I can stay up till 4 in the morning finishing a season.
Nope. Not happening. And then they say, we're told to plan months ahead.
That's tough.
It's funny because my wife actually is a really good planner. And she did strengths finders too. And one of her strengths is adaptability. Thank God, because she can adapt to me. I'm random. You remember when you were here, we were sitting on the couch. I said, let's go for a walk.
That was the craziest shit could not believe.
That's ADHD. And you're like, all right, let's go for a walk. Where to? I'm like, let's walk to Zona Romantica, which is 9 miles away from here, something like that. 7. I don't know how far it is, but it was far. That was a hell of a walk, though. That was perfect. Are you not hearing me now again, Matt? Are you fucking with
No,
your
I can hear
electronics?
you. My microphone, my headset keeps turning off. It's like the weirdest fucking thing.
Yeah. All right.
It's plugged in to charge, but it's turning off for some reason. I don't know.
That was fun as hell, though. That was awesome because,
Sketchy as fuck, but it was fun.
dude, it was chaos, right? That's where I live. It was awesome.
Yeah,
I love that.
the side of a road through a jungle on a cliff, like with a walkway like this wide. Oh, and by the way, it's nighttime.
And there was like a storm rolling through, wasn't there? Somewhere, like off,
Yes.
like right. Yeah,
And we didn't even like plan it, so I didn't have proper fucking shoes on. I didn't like had water bottles in my fucking pockets, like, ugh. But we made it. It was awesome.
that's right. That's right. So I'll wrap up with this on this topic. The end of the blog post, I talk about we're tired of trying to be normal. The point is, we're not. And again, I don't even know what normal is. I don't know if there's some baseline of like, if you stay within this thing, you're normal. I don't know. In my mind, I'm fucking normal. But I'm told all the time I'm not. So, okay, I'm not normal. Are you normal? I don't know.
People that
But
say you're not normal are probably the ones that aren't normal because they don't understand that there is no normal.
well, yeah. And the fact of the matter is, I'm tired of trying to be normal. I want to be me, with all the quirks. And that's where the freedom is, right? Just like, yes, I have ADHD. Don't like it? Don't come around. I'm cool. If you do like it, well then cool. Let's go on another fucking walk, to nowhere or some shit. I don't know.
We haven't
So
climbed the jungle yet. We talked about doing the get out some fucking hatchets and just go.
yeah, it's definitely coming for sure. The cool thing about ADHD is I think we live the randomness about some of the shit we do leads to a whole bunch of really cool adventures, uh, like scuba diving, all the bike riding I've done over the years, going to all the bike rallies, the bike crashes. There's been so much crazy shit in my whole life. And I don't think any of that stuff would have happened without ADHD. It's normal to me.
It's really interesting because I wonder if how I operate feeds off of people because here in Wisconsin by myself, I ain't doing random shit. I go hang out with you, like let's go do random shit. Fuck yeah, let's go. I used to do that
I'm the random shit friend for sure.
in the military. My friend would, yeah, let's go. I didn't care. Let's go. I did the one trip. I did a trip to nowhere last year.
That's
All
cool.
my friends are like, "How did you pack? Like, what did you like?" I didn't. I packed whatever. I just figured out when I got there, like, you could do that. Like, yeah, it was kind of scary. The people at the airport thought I was crazy, but it's not. I mean, there's shit everywhere.
Well, another thing about, ADHD people with other people is a lot of times I'll think other people are boring. Let's go buy some,
They're not up for doing shit.
random shit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, let's go on an adventure. Let's just like where to? I don't know. Well, I don't want to go.
let's go walk
Why
around
not?
Home Depot, see if Matt can get kicked out.
Right. Right. Yeah. So we do beat ourselves up about things like returning emails, paying bills on time. I was actually really good at paying bills on time, but my wife is, better at it and Kevin's good at it. Following a to-do list. I'm actually fairly good at to-do lists as long as it's something that I don't know. I don't know. I for some reason I am fairly good at to-do lists, but I think if they're made by
That's why
somebody
we're
else,
That's
Not if
why
they're made by
we're
me.
trying to
I
make
don't
a
do my
script
own.
for this, so it's like a to-do list, so it's
Yeah.
structured.
And sitting
I'm
through a
on to you.
90-minute meeting without screaming inside, I hate meetings. I hate every single, except for the only meetings I like are one-on-ones. I love one-on-ones because we can just talk about how you doing, how's life, how the kids, whatever. And if business stuff comes up in the middle of that stuff, fine, we can talk about the business stuff. But I like the unstructured nature of just catching up with people. But the other meetings, nobody invites me to those anymore. If they do, they always regret it, because if assuming I showed up and then I always take us off the rails, always. And then they're like, we shouldn't invite Evan next time. And I'm like, sounds good to me.
Get me out of here.
Right.
It's a waste of my time.
Yeah. So if you think, listeners, if you think you might have ADHD, I encourage you to check it out. Maybe you do. Maybe it'll answer a whole bunch of questions about why you work the way you work and why things are frustrating for you. I'm always big on like self-discovery kind of things, honest self-discovery, and maybe you'll find out. It helps because then the world makes a little bit more sense when I understand like, yeah,
Self.
okay, I get why I'm this way and why you're that way. And we can coexist. We won't ever, it's almost like oil and water. We'll never like truly mix, but we can both. I can be the oil and I can ride on top of you. That's cool. I don't want to be the water.
I might
I don't
allow
want
it.
you to ride on top of me.
Might allow it.
Not into that. All right. So, okay. That's that part. Now the next segment is
We're gonna shift gears here.
We're going to shift gears. We're going to talk about tool time or full time.
Full time or full time? This sounds awesome.
Does sound a little bit awesome. And the one we're going to pick, and we're going to pick a new one each week.
Okay.
So today it's CrowdStrike.
Let's start with
$1 billion.
the hacker's number one target, CrowdStrike. The hacker community, I mean.
The $1 billion cybersecurity darling with a bird logo and a falcon fetish.
And made the most amount of money ever last year and coincidentally laid off a shitload of people this year.
Right. Yeah. So we're going to take a critical approach to this. If you work for CrowdStrike or you're like a CrowdStrike fanboy, fangirl, whatever, and this offends you, get over it. You know what I mean? There's honestly, because in this industry, it helps to have thick skin. It helps to like get the joke in some of these things. If you're using, CrowdStrike's products and they're working well for you, then good for you. I'm not ripping on that. I'm just ripping on basic shit. Right. So let's rip on CrowdStrike a little bit, infosec to insanity style. Let's number one.
I might have experience with CrowdStrike.
Yeah, I think a lot of us do. So number one, the great update meltdown of 2024. It's almost like that was brushed under the rug. Like you took down half the fucking planet, for crying out loud.
Well,
and it's like, here we are a year later, and it's like, what happened?
So
I didn't catch that.
I feel like they got protected by the bigger criminal Microsoft because most of the people, when the thing happened, it looked like a Microsoft problem. No one knows how to read kernel error.
You think those two are in bed with each other?
No, I think that
yes, they are.
Well, yes.
I was going to answer this. It's
I'm
rhetorical.
talking about the optic piece, not the actual behind the scenes piece. Like the optic piece, it looked like a Microsoft thing, so I think that shielded them from more scrutiny than they probably needed to have. Now, like I said, I have experience with that. I know some of the inside people, salespeople, were targeted pretty badly. I don't think that is the time to be going off the rails for something you've bought and allowed in your environment. Probably circle back and talk about it later, but in the middle of it is not the time to be behaving that way. So probably check yourself for those people.
Chickadee check yourself before you rickety wreck yourself.
Yep.
How about the cult of marketing over substance?
Everyone's doing that. It's not just them.
Hey, we're not talking about everybody here.
Yeah, I mean, they do make some
tool
pretty
or full
cool
time
ass
is about
action
CrowdStrike
figures.
right now.
They have some
Yeah,
cool
cool
FX.
action figures and like robot-y looking falcony things and shit like that. It's almost like
Mhm.
they're a marketing company happens to sell secure.
I think that's the play in today's world.
And they've definitely mastered the Fear Factory playbook.
Yes, for sure. We stop breaches.
Yeah, right.
Now, I would debate that they stop breaches. I would argue that they stop negative impact. I don't think they stop initial impact, which is where you want to be in an incident kill chain, not towards the end, but meh.
They have this win all the time delusion too. Every time there's a major incident, suddenly, like anytime there's a breach, CrowdStrike's already there, first to respond. They had all the inside shit. It's marketing
There's a
bullshit.
couple companies. Yeah, CrowdStrike is one of the top ones that's like that. They're all over it.
I don't care about all of them, man. Let's stay focused on CrowdStrike right now.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time separating because it's
Separating
just
what?
how they're all the same. I mean, we're trying to talk about one, but all the players are the same, but CrowdStrike's at the top.
Well, and so one of the big things too is the lack of accountability, right? Because we
Hmm.
justify a lot of the shit that happens in our industry, a lot of this shit marketing, false promises with comparisons. Yeah. Well, they all do it. Well, that minimizes the impact a little bit. I'm not talking, and I'm saying I learned this basically from raising my own kids, right? Because when Joe did something, I'm on Joe's ass right now. And Joe's pointing at Brendan and saying, well, Brendan did, I don't give two fucks what Brendan did right now. I'm talking to you. I'll take care of Brendan when I take care of Brendan. Right now, you better accept this accountability and suck it up. Because there's zero accountability with CrowdStrike. Maximum spin. When you saw the thing last year, the update problem, no real apologies. Out of the gate, George Kurtz was laughable with the way he approached that. There wasn't an apology till the next day until he was actually called out. Like, are you going to apologize for this shit? Like, you just caused a whole bunch of damage. And it's not like it's way beyond like profit and loss stuff. You were impacting people's lives. People were stuck in airports. People couldn't get things done that they needed to get done. The inconvenience was
There's
huge.
real life inconvenience at that point.
Right. And at the beginning, I don't know if you remember, but he said, this is not a security incident. It's like the fuck it ain't a security incident because security doesn't happen to be just a threat actor compromising and exploiting a vulnerability.
Availability is part of
An
infosec.
incident is any event with a bad outcome. That's an incident. You just happen to cause it. So right out of the gate, there was this minimization of, and this is how it works, right? This is how it works with CrowdStrike,
What we do versus what it is.
right? And in terms of being held responsible, so that was a year ago, and you'd kind of touched into this. They had record earnings, right? So do they give a shit? No, I don't
Nope.
think they give a shit. Are they going to be fined? Maybe. I mean, they'll lose some lawsuits and there'll be some civil liability there, but really the only ones who will make the
In
money from
5 years
that
from now,
will be the lawyers. And meanwhile, they are still kicking ass on sales and earnings. And in the middle of all that stuff, the layoffs.
what the
They laid
fuck?
off hundreds of people.
Hmm.
But hey, we still protect 15 of the top 20 banks. It's all the marketing shit. And I think
Yeah.
few people can actually see through it.
I would also add that they need to stop adding shit. I mean, every time I log in, there's a new fucking thing. What were we just talking about? Bugs per line of code. Like, fucking stop. Just make the shit
But
work better.
but that's what sells, man. New bells, new whistles, new features. That's what sells.
That's what
People
sells
people like you
for.
that are trying to use the tool for what it's used for. Yeah, it's frustrating as shit for us.
That's what I try to tell any new person that I'm talking to, or I even mentioned this on the podcast last week. Someone asked, like, how do you make decisions or whatever? Like, fucking make a program, make a roadmap, and stick to it. No fucking vendor, no product. should be telling you what to do or what to buy ever. It's
And what
your program.
and what Falcon is fancy. Right? You got to give him credit. It's super fancy,
Yeah.
but it's also fragile. And so I wrote this: Falcon looks slick, but try turning off just a few critical processes or blocking its network calls, and watch how fast your next gen EDR becomes next gen useless. That's true.
Mhm.
All hype, no humanity. Buzzwords all over the fucking place. Silicon Valley caricature thing. Growth over grit. Pay to play and pay and pay and pay with the
Yes,
illusion
so
of security.
the modularization selling of security pisses me off to no end. Like, if I buy security, I should get the product. I shouldn't have to buy and this and this and this and this in order for to do what the fuck I needed to do. It is ridiculous.
I call that vendor classification on steroids.
Yes, I think
They want to be your EDR, your XDR, your SIM, your threat intel feed, your IR partner, and maybe your therapist too.
well,
They want to
I don't
fucking
know
do everything for you, and it's a land grab.
I don't know if I ever told you, but I met Mr. Kurt a few years ago. Got to
Oh, I
shake
know
his hand.
Turch. I mean, he wouldn't remember me, but back in the day before he wrote his book,
Mhm.
he was actually a pretty, I think, humble guy. But he wrote his book, and bam, his head got that big.
So I met him. He's like, "Yeah, how you liking the thing? Yeah, yeah, I like it. Whatever." He's like, "Cool, cool, man. We're trying to make sure it does everything for you. Like that is the end goal." So that's why they keep adding more and more because they want to be the only thing.
Yep, all the data, all the time.
And with like one, you just in like I get it. Like that's the vision, right? One thing, one place. But when you have to update and maintain all of these things, it's just a fucking mess. All I maybe
Well, we should have
I'm
learned last week we should have learned last year, single point of failure, right? If I
yeah,
had all my eggs in that basket, what would have happened then?
your whole company was down for multiple days, and then you had to
Right,
go find all the things and fix them hand by hand in multiple locations. That was fun.
right. So I'm going to cover just a couple more things quick, and then we'll wrap this, thing up. Tool or fool. So post breach gaslighting. They've always been known for that. I call it smug as a service because CrowdStrike definitely has its swagger, right? I mean, we're
Mhm.
CrowdStrike,
Yeah.
whatever. That's going to end up being honestly, that's going to end up being the biggest weakness. It's pride. It's when you get cut off at the knees when you didn't expect to get cut off at the knees. And what
Mhm.
happened last year, it wasn't the thing that's going to happen to make that happen, but it's the smug as a service thing. It's worn thin. It really has. This is a service industry. We're here to help people. It's not about, and I've said this before. The truth is, focus on the mission, you'll make money. Focus on the money, you won't make the mission. And this is clearly a company that's lost sight of the mission and is clearly focused on the money ahead of the mission. And that'll change. I mean, it's just logic would tell you that, right? So, final thought: Falcon is good. Sure, I agree with that. I think Falcon is a fantastic fucking tool. I think it's best in class. Is CrowdStrike itself good for cybersecurity? I think that's debatable. I think there's a lot of things we could talk about and do a whole episode on whether CrowdStrike is actually good for this industry.
When you phrase it like that, I align totally. I've had great experiences with Falcon and other services along with that, but as far as the other things, it just seems like, yeah, it's not up to where the integrity and accountability we want out of a leader.
Yeah. Well, so here's the final verdict from me and see if you agree with this. Excuse me. CrowdStrike is a tool, right? A really expensive tool. And if you think of buying Falcon is the same as building real security. So I think CrowdStrike is a tool. So when I say tool or fool, tool. And I think it's a fantastic tool. However, if you're thinking of buying Falcon and that it's going to give you real security, you're the fool. So it comes down to, because there's so much more to building a security program than just running something like Falcon. If you don't take care of the fundamentals, the basics, asset management, patch management, configuration management, the EDR thing, yeah, it'll do its best to do what it does, but it's not going to compensate. It doesn't fix the root of your problems.
ER is a point in time that was developed when ransomware kicked off because SIM was too complicated for some people. So they're like, I only need to see the endpoint because that's where everything's going to happen anyway. So that's when like EDR was kind of really born. But now people are starting to see, holy shit, maybe the SIM is valuable. Maybe I do need telemetry from everywhere. Maybe the network does tell me stuff. All these things, it's starting to come back, in my opinion. So I think, again, to your point, CrowdStrike, Falcon, a tool. Now, I would say they are slick, and I guess I'll be like kind of marketing for them, I guess, maybe. Or like, this is how it's going to go, right? You're going to buy it, you're going to pay a shitload of money, and then you're not going to have a team because most of the time you're not going to get a team. So you're not going to have a team to manage it. So they're going to try and sell you that they can manage it for you, which is like an extra, $200,000. You might as well just buy it as a service from them and let them do it all for you if you're gonna jump in. You might as well just like with Microsoft. If you jump in with Microsoft, you might as well just fucking buy everything because it's just easier. You can't trying to peel apart all those fucking modules.
Spoken like a true security guy who's just fucking gave up.
Dude,
I know, I get it, dude. I'm with you. Well, I've run, I don't know, my share of information security programs over the years. And every one that I've run without CrowdStrike has been just as secure as the ones I ran with CrowdStrike. It never came down to CrowdStrike. It came down to the skill of my team. It came down to making good decisions. We never used CrowdStrike. We used CrowdStrike what it's built for. We didn't buy into the marketing hype that it's going to do all this AI, machine learning, cloud native bullshit. That's great. You tell me that stuff because it's going to sell. What does it do specifically what I need it to do? And that's it. I know I can get it to do all kinds of other things too, but I don't need those other things. It's getting that intimate with your environment to know exactly what you need the tool for. I'm an expert. Well, I'm not an expert, but I get paid like I'm an expert. So I need to earn that money. I make these decisions. I put tools into the environment, not for the sake of having a damn tool. I put the tools into the environment because they serve a specific purpose that I need done. That's it. If I can find a tool that does the same thing that CrowdStrike does without all the other bullshit for cheaper, that's where I'm going. But I think you have a lot of people, a lot of practitioners in our industry who aren't that sophisticated, that don't take the time to go through that work, and they just
I
end up with
agree.
CrowdStrike.
That might be where, if we jump back a bunch of episodes, where that skill gap actually comes in. I don't think it's a skills gap in being able to do the job and learn the things. I think it's the skill gap in knowing what to know. Like, I'm the expert in EDR. Like, well, what the fuck does that even mean? How come all these things aren't configured? Like, why don't like you're not really pushing the vendor, right?
Well, what most people do most people buy their products based on the marketing shit, which is
It's
completely
Gartner,
backwards.
top right,
Which is
bro.
completely backwards. The
Top
way to
right,
do it,
Gartner.
yeah, but the right way to do it is to understand your environment well enough to know specifically what it is you need, spec it out based on your own specific needs before you even go to the fucking market. If you,
Hmm.
that's the way, that's the right way to do it. It's not the way most people do it. And it's not the way CrowdStrike would tell you to do it. It's not the way Microsoft would tell you to do it. But why else would I buy a damn tool? It's like diagnosing a car, right? if you're a good auto mechanic, you would diagnose the car, find exactly what it is you need, and replace that part to make it work the best it can. You might
Let's just
add some
throw a
things to make it go
supercharger on my
faster.
Prius because I can.
Right. Yeah. Let's throw a supercharger on here, but I still have flat tires.
Yeah.
It's like, so I think the tool perspective, yes, Cyber CrowdStrike is a tool, and you almost don't blame them for playing people as the fool because they're making a shitload of money from it. Why wouldn't you?
Well, I
It's a
mean, that
quality
goes.
tool, but
I
you're
mean,
taking advantage of the fool. So I don't think
we've
it's good
talked
for the
about
industry
that
from that way.
too. Like, social engineering is used for bad. It's used by criminals, but it's also used by fucking marketers like CrowdStrike, like Microsoft. So now security people, tech people have become like so paranoid. I think it's just not going to lead to a good place.
No, it's not because and the attackers love it. I mean, the
Yeah,
dumber
because
you
it
can,
makes their job easier.
right? The dumber we can make the security people, the better, right? And it's like, and some of the big players, the big tools in our industry, um, in some respects, it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. They're preying upon the sheep, for their own benefit. But again, if you do know what these
I'm the
things are,
fucking
how to
sheepdog,
use
Evan.
them, why you need them, configure it correctly, manage it correctly, do all these things, then I think CrowdStrike's a fantastic tool. It's best in class, in my opinion. But
If you configure everything and buy everything.
right, but that's the part that
If you
pisses me
buy
off. Is
everything
how
and
many
don't
people.
configure it, it ain't shit.
Well, that's the part that pisses me off. Is this is a very powerful company that has no accountability, really. If you did, like, imagine if you had a company, Matt, and you took down half the fucking planet. Do you think it'd
Fucking go
be?
hide in Mexico.
Well, they'd find you here, man.
Probably.
I'd protect you. But here there's no accountability, really. Yeah, lots
No,
of
once
shit.
you get
Anyway,
past a certain like evaluated rating, right? These companies aren't worth that much, but they're worth that much. You're protected.
well, and behind the scenes, there's a lot of shit that we don't talk a lot about, and I don't think people even notice. But after the SolarWinds breach, there was a Senate hearing. There's often Senate hearings and things after big notable breaches and such. And so there was a Senate hearing after the CrowdStrike, or not the CrowdStrike breach, the
SolarWinds.
SolarWinds breach, and you had Microsoft, and it was crazy who you had there. But you didn't have like just security advocates there, to give testimony. You had Microsoft, you had Kevin Mandia, FireEye Mandiant, and you had George Kurtz, CrowdStrike. That's who giving testimony. That's who's representing the information security industry to the legislators.
The
And
wrong
so,
people.
well, and the tell on all this for anybody who was paying attention, and I'm really surprised that more people weren't, was Senator Wyden from Oregon asked a very important question, and it was, there was one company, that he noted that there was one organization that was able to mitigate this breach that everybody said was not mitigatable. And that organization was the IRS. And of course, the marketing people are going to say it's unmitigatable unless you had CrowdStrike or unless you had FireEye, even though FireEye, they had their tools fucking stolen. Why?
Poland.
Because how in the hell would you have data exfiltration if you're running a basic thing like a firewall correctly, which is ingress and egress? This is who's giving the testimony. And so he pointed out this thing. The IRS was able to mitigate this attack because they had blocked egress traffic from the server. So there was no command and control. That just makes logical sense. And that's always been the guidance. And so he pointed that out. And then he asked, the three of these guys, in your opinion, would a properly configured firewall have mitigated this attack? Yes or no? First one to answer, Kevin Mandia. He says, it depends. What? What do you mean it depends? And then he goes on to justify it's depends answer. And he says, well, last year we did over 600 penetration tests and never once did a firewall stop us. It's funny how political that got because that wasn't the fucking question. The question was, would
Yeah.
a properly configured firewall
Voided the
had mitigated
question.
this
Yeah.
attack?
That's
So he
what they
goes
do
on
in
to,
politics all the time. They never answer the real question.
well, and not only politics, but I have a really vested interest for you to not, for you to think that you need my shit
Yeah, you don't need to
for me to get this
understand how it
attack.
works. It's too complicated.
Because the
Just stay
truth of the
over
matter
there.
is, a properly configured firewall would have mitigated that attack. And so Kevin Mandia go blah 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 blah, and you can go check out the Senate testimony. At the end, he concedes, yes, a properly configured firewall would have mitigated this attack. However, that's operationally cumbersome. Which I was like, so you're telling me to do the right thing is operationally cumbersome? I get paid a lot of money to run things and protect things and do things. And my excuse for not using a tool the way it was designed to be used is to tell the CEO, well, I know I should have done it that way, that's the way it was designed to be used. I didn't do it because it was operationally cumbersome for me to do that. Fuck? Really? And so then it goes on, Brad Peterson or whatever, the president of Microsoft, who, Smith, whatever, Peterson, Smith, they're about the same, Red Johnson. So he says, he doesn't know shit about firewalls. He's a lawyer by trade. So he's like, I agree. I concur, with what Kevin said. Do you know what Kevin said? No, but I agree with that. And then it goes to Kurtz. Kurtz is, yeah, I agree too. And so you have three guys in agreement that rather than using a tool that you already have in place the way it was designed to be used, basics, fundamentals, instead, you need to pile on more shit, make things more complex, which is the enemy of security to begin with. It's fucking insane.
Well, let me ask you this question, if I can frame it correctly. Back in the day, when everything was simpler, which might have been never, firewalls were properly configured. Ingress, egress, right? But whenever the business wanted to add something, you had to go past the Department of No and get something allowed. And then eventually some security person figured out, what if we just go from the inside out? And then that's how all these tools operate now. So you don't need to have any inbound, it gets rid
Well,
of
let
half
me
the problem.
So let me tell you about the circular logic and all this bullshit, right? And the marketing buzzwords that continue to drive investments in information security. One of the biggest buzzwords today is zero trust. How in the fuck are you ever planning to run zero trust if you can't run a firewall correctly? You know what I mean? And so it's like, wait, you told me it's operationally cumbersome, yet you're going to sell me? What the hell? You know what I mean? So you back it up and simplify things. We're running networks today. We're running environments today where we have so many applications, so many services, so many network connections and network flows that don't need to be there. And the reason why most people don't even know what network flows they have. There's no analysis of what's talking to what on the network, but you're entertaining conversations, from an MSP or somebody else who's trying to get you to do zero trust. Why would you be doing zero trust? You don't even know what the hell that is.
Because
You know what I
my
mean?
CEO heard it in the news and they're asking me about it. And
Well,
I
and
don't
that's how a
have
lot
the
of people,
balls to
well,
tell them the right answer.
that's how a lot of people buy, CrowdStrike. If you remember the early days of CrowdStrike, they were at all the conferences. They still are, right? They're at RSA. Have you ever seen the RSA booth for CrowdStrike?
Never been to
It's
ours.
don't. It's I don't know, man. That that
Carbon
that
black
booth
guy.
has to be that booth has to be a couple $1,000,000 easy.
I was one of the top carbon black people and disappointed that they didn't pan out.
Yeah.
Fucking
Well, anyway,
VMware.
that's all I got for the episode, man. I think it was a good episode. We'll try to build this segments. I think a little bit better, make it more consistent for our
I
listeners.
got some good tips, people. We'll get on track.
Yeah, man. It was really good. And I always appreciate talking to you. It's good for my sanity. I didn't really pay attention to what was
Infosec
going on the
to
live stream.
insanity.
Hopefully it
Yes,
was a
sir.
good live stream. Were you paying attention to that? I wasn't even paying attention to that.
We had 6 people at one point. I had some good chats going on. Just want
Yeah,
to
we're
remind
talking and
everybody,
interacting. That's the best part, man. I got to
don't
get
forget
better
to
at that.
like and subscribe. I see all you people. There's 3,000 people that have watched our videos, and we only have 200 followers. Man, you guys need to get on it.
Who wants to follow this shit, man? We got to get our shit together first. I would be honest with any of the listeners, like, don't follow our shit until we get our shit together. We have
They're
to
not
earn
gonna know
it.
if we get it together unless they subscribe and get notified.
They have to earn it. I mean, we have to earn it. We got to do a better job,
We
create
do
a better
have to earn
product.
it. That's true. Yes, we have to earn it.
All right. Have a great night. We'll see you next week,
All
brother.
right. Appreciate you all. Have a good night.
There you go.